Good morning, my students of class 12. This is Miss Anuradha going to give you a short synopsis of lesson number 8 in your book of stories, that is the singing lesson, written by Catherine Mansfield. I'll divide this video in 3 parts, and in the first part I would be describing the various aspects of the story in short. In the second video, I would be describing the plot or the summary of the story. I'll give you a short synopsis of the story covering the other aspects so that when you actually read the story, many things become clear to you. And in the third video, I'll be elaborating a little bit on the beginning and the ending of the story along with various themes. So first, beginning with the introduction, this story, The Singing Lesson, it is a short story in the collection of her short stories named The Garden Party and Other Stories, which was first published in the year 1922. Now, regarding the technique that the author has used, remember that this story gives you less of what happens outside, rather more importance is laid on what is happening inside the protagonist, the central character, Miss Meadows. And so when the author focuses more on the inside and less on the outside, things appear to be a bit complex. And so this story, I would not say it's difficult, but it's complex to understand, because to understand the story, you have to delve deep into the psyche, into the thought process of what is going on within Miss Meadows. Whatever happens outside the story is the resultant of what is happening inside the character. And this particular technique is called interior monologue. The story has a psychological plot, and Catherine Mansfield uses this interior monologue technique to explore the corridors of Miss Meadows' psyche. There is paucity of dialogues, very few dialogues are used, and much emphasis is laid on the inner thought process of Miss Meadows. Now, coming to the setting of the story, a large part of the story takes place in the music hall. It is a girls' school, and a large part of the story, more than half of it, takes place in the music room, where students of class 4, 5 and 6 have all gathered to get music lesson from Miss Meadows. And the latter part of the story, a very small part of the story, you can say, takes place in the headmistress's room, Miss White. And so in this story, we will find that the central character, the protagonist, Miss Meadows, she is filled with despair. She is filled with a sense of hopelessness. And this hopelessness, this sense of despair, this sorrow, this interior suffering that she is going through, she manifests all that suffering, all those negative feelings in whoever she encounters or whatever she encounters. This story is based on reverse psychology, in the sense that when the story begins, we find Miss Meadows in an awful mood. And what is the reason behind this awful mood that morning? Because she, just before coming to school, she has received a letter from her fiancé, Basil, in which he has given her a very unpleasant news that He's breaking their engagement because he feels that their marriage is going to fill him with a sense of disgust, rather regret. So he has given her this unpleasant news regarding breaking of their marriage. So she is filled with a sense of despair. She is filled with a sense of coldness. And this coldness she passes on to her students also, the children. You will find that in the beginning of the story, the children are all enthusiastically waiting for the singing lesson to begin. Mary Beasley, her favorite student, has even brought a yellow chrysanthemum flower for Miss Meadows. But today, Miss Meadows, rather than taking the flower and greeting Mary Beasley with kind words, today she just ignores that chrysanthemum flower. She pays no attention to Mary Beasley. And this attitude of Miss Meadows brings tears in Mary Beasley's eyes. And then, in the latter half of the story, when Miss Meadows receives a telegram from Basil, in which he has apologized to her, saying that he must have been mad and not to pay attention to the letter, there is a sudden transformation in the mood of Miss Meadows. She walks down the corridors this time on wings of hope, of love. She's filled with enthusiasm. And now she tries to pass on this enthusiasm to her children, forgetting that it was she only who had filled them with sorrow. Music lessons are set to uplift our mood, to give us happiness. But this particular music lesson fills the children with a sense of fright, a sense of fear. So, when Miss Meadows is in an awful mood, the children are excited. And when Miss Meadows, when she is in a mood of excitement, happiness, children are not ready to share that happiness of Miss Meadows. So this story is based on reverse psychology. She has already passed on all her negative feelings of coldness, of despair to the children. In my next video, I would be discussing the plot or summary of the story in short.